Hi, folks. You're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about workplace bullying. There's a couple of things that got me onto this. I was recently out at it's a client of an organisation that we're working closely with, and I noticed that everywhere you look, they had these anti-bullying messages around the place. Now, typically, when you see those sorts of things, the reality is usually the opposite. So, when it comes to we care about our people, they're our most important resource, or we're just like a family here, we love each other, then you know that the staff turnover is 5 million%, and so on. So when I saw all these signs around saying, report bullying and we don't tolerate harassment and bullying, then you kind of know that it's a hotbed of bullying and harassment, and I guess they just do it in different ways. Now, I guess the bullying, you can have a number of types of bullying. The bullying today seems to be interpreted or defined very much along feminist lines. So if a woman isn't invited to an important meeting, for example, then she's been bullied, or if she's held to a certain standard of work, then again it's bullying. So it's done very much a race and gender lines. If minorities are held to the same standard as straight white male, then the minorities are being bullied. Is really the bottom line. But it's all related to work and prestige and respect. That seems to be the triangle where the bullying sort of definitions really come in. So now, respect, maybe I can see that, but people can demand and insist on receiving respect that they're making absolutely no effort to earn or justify. So there are those issues there, but those are particularly of concern to women and minorities. This chip on shoulder, I'm not as good as, I've only been hired as an affirmative action hire, as a quota hire. I'm not as good as the people who've earned their jobs on merit, and therefore I'm going to stamp my foot, have a little tantrum, and demand that everyone shows me sort of double respect to compensate for my insecurity over being an affirmative action hire. So you get those sort of things, which seems to be the big issue really in the workplace today. There are so many quota and affirmative action hires, and these people know that they're not up to it and they can't do the job, but they try and conceal that by screaming, racism and misogyny, and that sort of gets them off the hook in terms of responsibility and accountability. But on the issue of bullying, there is a form of bullying that's is accepted now and is wide, so as far as I can tell, widespread in the workplace. Now, I've got a share in a business. It's a fairly small one, really, in the overall scheme of things, and we're all sort of professionals and higher achievers. So that there's no affirmative action or quota hires in around us day to day, but we do encounter them when we go to talk to clients and deal with clients. In fact, more and more now, it's rare that we don't have to deal with affirmative action hire or a quota hire. It requires a lot of patience to sit there and have to deal with someone who hasn't got a fucking clue and doesn't deserve that job, shouldn't have got that job, but they've got it and they've got the authority to say no. And so you've got to humour them and put up with a certain amount of slings and arrows, I guess. But coming back to this bullying thing. Now, listening to two white, well, I assume straight, but two white males. I'll say straight white males. That's my guess anyway. For being inducted now, they're being inducted by two people. One is a brown woman who's been given the job of explaining how the main software portal that the new hires are going to need to access. Why she was given that job, I don't know, because she really doesn't know how to do it. In fact, she hasn't got a clue from the sound of it. and there's certainly no IT person but anyway, she was put in there to do that. Now, she's quite insecure. She's A, quota higher, and B, doesn't know what she's doing. And she's then put in front of two, um, white guys. They'd be, I don't know, mid to late 40s, I suppose. They're moving into some sort of executive role, and so they're pretty senior guys, fairly well paid. Because they're straight white males, especially in that sort of industry sector, that you can reasonably count on them knowing what they're doing and being well qualified. So the woman's insecure about having to stand in front of these straight white males. So she overcompensates by, in effect, accusing them of being fascists and Nazis and white supremacists, and they haven't said a word. And now I can see through the door and I can hear enough of what's going on. And so I try and keep myself busy in that area, and so I can hear what's going on, so I can dutifully report it to on my radio live streams here. And anyway, she's gone, and I thought she was heckling them and harassing, daring them to say something. And was using the fallback that these people do. So, well, you may be smarter than me, you may do a better job than me, maybe you're better qualified than me. You're a high achiever and I'm not. You've earned your job on merit and I haven't. But in spite of all that, I'm morally superior to you because you're a damn straight white fucking male. You are a fucking Nazi. She didn't say that, but the tone she took with them was pretty much that. So she overcompensated for her insecurity and the fact she's a quota high and all that sort of stuff by saying, well, I'm morally superior to you. I may not be superior in any other sense, but I have this moral superiority because I'm brown and I'm female, and you have a moral inferiority situation because you're white, straight, and male. Now, this is pretty much all across, certainly in the government instrumentalities and the big multinationals, any company that relies primarily or solely on government revenues is like this. The massive HR departments and diversity inclusion officers everywhere you look, and they're all very left. And you can imagine all the talks that not imagine, I know the way they talk internally. It's all about how evil the straight white males are, and how it's terrible that incompetent minorities are paid double, triple what straight white males are. So they've got this massive chip on the shoulder, diversity and inclusion. They've learnt through college and high school that all men are evil. They're all rapists, oppressors, slave owners, and it's a miasma of hate against straight white males. And they've pretty much all got it, particularly when they know that they're unqualified and the straight white males are being hired on merit, but no one else is. But again, listening, then another person came in that was talking about, I'm guessing an HR person, talking about our values, and if you see a man behaving inappropriately towards a woman, it could be he says something, could be he makes a joke, could be he looks at a certain way, then you have to report it. If you don't report it, you're in trouble. And just because you're a straight white male doesn't mean that you're allowed to decide what the morals of the company are. We decide, not you. And you better do this, and you better do that, and you better think this way, and you better behave like this. I mean, and the way she was talking to them as if they were 5-year-old children starting in their first year at primary school, something like that. That's the only way she seemed to be able to talk. Now, I was aghast when I sort of heard this, and sort of looked at her and just the look on her face, like she believed she was an avenging angel from on high, bringing these evil straight white males to book for their wickedness from 2,000 years ago or 5,000 years ago. And we're talking to someone who's not very bright. I mean, not only is she an affirmative action quota hire, this woman, she was white, by the way. I don't think she was a lesbian, but anyway. she's minority affirmative action hire. She's in HR and diversity and inclusion, I suppose, but um, she knows it's not a real job. She knows that she's got no competence or no provable ability. She's never achieved anything in her life, and she's looking at two high achieving straight white males who are there because they worked hard at school, they worked hard at the university, they worked hard at their job to become proficient and expert in their field, so they do get hired on merit. And she knows this, whether she's it's an overt knowledge or subconscious knowledge. It's almost beside the point, but she knows this, and she knows she's dealing with professionals, and she's not. She's some two-bit little schoolgirl, snot-nosed punk. That because of the insanity of the world we're living in at the moment, where the least capable, the least qualified are the ones in charge, making the decisions, and so she's lecturing and hectoring these men about. And by the way, talking to them as if they are the representatives of evil and wickedness, um, and the fact that they don't know it or they've never done anything wicked, it doesn't matter. If you haven't done it, and the white guy, the straight white guy sitting next to you did it, has done it. So you're just as much to blame to him. It's guilt by association. This is an insane sort of thing. The white guys sitting there, they took it as well as they could, and they smiled and tried to look agreeable and like they were taking it in good cheer and that sort of stuff. But the reality was diabolical. I mean, had I been that woman's boss, you'd have been counselled once and then fired. You just don't talk to people that way. The way this professional's dealing with it, because you've got so many quota hires and affirmative action hires, they just don't know how to deal with or interact with or talk to professionals. They just don't know, and because they've got these petty insecurities that people who are useless and stupid and shouldn't have the job have. They just can't not have those feelings. They just feel inadequate and insecure, and justifiably so. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They've been hired into these stupid diversity departments or quota and affirmative action hires I've already mentioned. So it's almost in their interest to diminish the achievements of straight white males or anyone who's not a quota or a hire. To diminish them so that in order to sort of make themselves feel better. And it's open now in a lot of HR departments around. We cannot hire competent straight white males because it makes all the affirmative action hires feel bad about themselves. It makes them feel inferior and insecure because no way are they up to the standard of the merit-based straight white males. I mean, it goes to show you how the West is destroying itself with globalist approval, by the way. This is what the globalists want. They want this sort of destruction and undermining of Western societies. It makes it easier for them to take control. Competent straight white males will always form the nucleus of opposition to the globalists, so that they have to be got rid of and crushed and dispensed with. The little incompetent, silly little idiots in the diversity department, they can be taken care of at any time and at the leisure of the globalists. But the competent, high-achieving straight white males, that's a little bit different. So they have to go. So just looking at the way that these straight white males were treated. But I've mentioned in other videos that looking at clean-up crews on a train where there's a super aggressive, angry, snotty, power mad, power tripping Asian lady with quite a thick accent, ordering about all these old white men who are cleaning the train. Now, I don't know whether those old white men have all got triple PhDs in something or other that they earned by merit, but they didn't. Well, some of them did actually. Some of them looked like they were, they'd always been floor sweepers, but there's some of them there who didn't. And I'm not that many years away from being in there. I'm thinking, holy shit, is that what I've got to look forward to? The age for the pension is getting older. They're putting up the age for the pension. So whereas you could retire at 63, then it became 65, and 67, and I think over the next 10 years they're going to increase it to age 70 to retire. So that means that if you're on the scrap heap, but for example, you're on the scrap heap at 65 in sort of your normal job, if you will, or normal profession, then you can't draw a retirement pension from the government, including medical care um, allowances and that sort of thing. You've got to work for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and the only jobs available to you maybe those sort of jobs for those sort of people, and so you can look forward to being um, an equivalent the way this woman, this Asian woman, spoke to these guys. It was like she was a fucking prison camp commandant, for Christ's sake. So, in those movies you see from World War II, or the North Korean prison camps, and the Soviet gulags, and the way she was talking was like they were lower than shit, and screamed and shouted. And they didn't look like they were being difficult to get on with, or refusing to do as they were directed, but it was certainly an unpleasant sight to see, and not dissimilar to how these white guys were being inducted in this company. Now I've seen these sorts of things again, little snippets here and there, but the way people are spoken to now, there's this inability to deal with professionals. Now, if I was in that position, and these guys came in, I'd say, okay, well, these are the company policies. I've got it here in writing. Let's talk through it. I appreciate you guys are professionals and so on. So let's just work through it. If you have any questions, let me know. And these are the things that are considered important here. This is why. And I'd go through it that way. And so I'm dealing with people who have agency, who have skill, ability. They can discern, and they have knowledge of many different workplaces. So let me treat them as capable people and say, well, these are the issues in this company. Can you, what do you think? Do you think there's another way of doing this? Can you, and so on, and make them part of the discussion and part of any solutions that are going on. The idea of talking to anyone that way, with that sneering, condescending, snotty little schoolgirl tone, that was it's completely unacceptable. I can't even imagine why somebody would want to do that, or how it would be considered as helpful or useful. But clearly, both these women are not being trained or shown how to do this sort of thing, and they're treating these straight white males as the enemy. You are the class enemy, you are the social enemy, you are the enemy of wokeism, you are the enemy of progress, you are the enemy of LGBT, you are the enemy of all this stuff, and that's it. So with this baggage, this overhead, where's it going to go? And I think this is the new form of bullying. And not only is it being accepted, it's being condoned. In fact, it's being fucking promoted. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.